Hi and welcome to this video where we're going to take a look at Wreckfest on the PS4 Pro. So Wreckfest's been out on PC for quite a while, early access and then all the way through to release with lots of stuff added to it, and it's finally got a console release, and I'm taking a look at it today on the PS4 Pro. So its premise is fairly simple. It's kind of a modern spiritual successor to the likes of Destruction Derby that came out on the original PlayStation. So a very popular title in its day. I personally loved it, and I was looking forward to this one quite a lot, and I've spent a good few days with it. Had a good play around with it both using the controller and also my T300. Nice thing is it does support the T300 reasonably well, and it does also support manual gears and clutch, so I've been using my H-pattern shifter with it as well. So what overall is Wreckfest like? And the answer to that, in all honesty, is absurdly good fun. You're not going to find a single licensed car in here, which is understandable given the scale of damage that you do to them, but all of them are pretty easily recognisable, to be perfectly honest with you, and any that you don't recognise, Google is your friend on, and you'll soon find out exactly what's what amongst them. But most of them, as I say, you are going to recognise or a short Google away. The actual handling physics, it's better than I thought it was going to be. I've got to be perfectly honest with you. I was expecting it to be very arcadey. Wouldn't have been disappointed particularly if it was, but it's not actually very arcadey. It's a nice balance between an accessible sim-ish title and an arcade title, and it's got enough depth in it to keep people interested if they are more simulation inclined. Does some things quite well. One of the reasons why I'm particularly impressed with that is because fairly obviously the performance budget has been spent on the actual soft body physics side of the title. The way the vehicles deform, dent, panels get ripped off, bounce about, the chassis gets bent, bumpers hang off, is where most of the budget and most of the work being done by, in this case, the PS4 is carried out. So that obviously limits the devs in terms of what they can then use in their budget for the actual handling physics and also the graphics, and the graphics are better than I thought they were going to be. It's reasonably tidy, runs reasonably well, it's capped at 30 frames per second I believe on console, but it's a nice smooth solid 30 frames per second, and it looks perfectly good and it's perfectly adequate in terms of its performance in that regard. So it's not the greatest looker, but it's not appalling. Sounds are okay, the handling physics are okay, but yet the real star of the show here is the deformation and the way it affects the races. You know, you've got debris and rubbish and bits of cars permanently on track after they come off of vehicles, and broken vehicles remain on track as well. You've also got a fairly huge career mode here. There's a lot to do with an awful lot of variety, and some of the clips you've been watching will have shown that. You know, you've got plenty to do in terms of your kind of banger racing, as we call it here in the UK, so your Destruction Derby, classic type stuff, or folk racing as it's called, and I'm led to believe is the Scandinavian term for it from Wreckfest itself. I don't know how true that is, but you know, that's the full contact first past the post racing that takes place, and you've got single events, you've got kind of mini championships, and you've got elimination type tiered racing in there where you've got to finish in the first half of the pack to progress to the next race. And it's all good stuff. To add in a bit of mix on that, what you've also got included is the Destruction Bowl type events that many will recognise from the older title, as I say, Destruction Derby, where effectively you've got to be the last man standing, or woman standing, and the idea there is to, well, avoid too much trouble early on and let the competitors damage the hell out of each other, and then drive around either in a forward direction or in a rearward direction, because it helps preserve your engine and batters other half of your car, so you get going for twice as long, I find, with that, until you are quite literally down to 2 or 3 cars limping around, attempting to just finally knock the last bits off of each other and destroy their cars, and it's all just ridiculously fun and silly. One thing I will say is there's quite clearly rubber banding going on in terms of the AI, but I don't really mind it in this, I've got to be perfectly honest, because it always keeps you in the thick of the action and gets you back in the thick of the action. It lives with the spirit of the game, and I don't have any real problems with that, because it also means if you are taken out from behind and spun or pushed into a wall, and you will be, you've got a chance to catch back up, and obviously fair's fair, so if the AI as a result of that. There's a full host of aids available, so if you want them you can whack aids on, from stability control, traction control, automatic braking, sorry, I can't remember if it's got an automatic braking, I think it's got ABS in there, and all of that in there, automatic gears, and you can disable and enable those individually, as well as varying the actual AI strength and ability. So it's nice and accessible for whatever control system you're using, whatever your experience is, and what kind of experience you want. You've also, in the career mode, got some really daft stuff in there, which is actually surprisingly good fun. So this is where the special vehicles come in, and you've got things like sit-on lawnmowers, combine harvesters, school buses, camper vans, three-wheelers, so there's a Reliant Robin clone in there as well, and these are all really good fun, and some of the challenges are quite odd with them. So for example, one of them involves trying to survive on an oval race and win across 6 laps when you are in a 3-wheel Reliant Robin and you're against a field of 23 school buses, so quite challenging in that regard, and these are all good fun. The rewards for those are you get the vehicle in question. There's also a load of unlocks to get to upgrade the vehicle both visually and in performance. There's a basic livery and colour control tool in there, which allows you to, for a very limited degree, personalise the vehicles as well. You've got some create your own events and a basic but functional online tool as well. There's also a host of DLC coming out for the game. I think it's primarily vehicles. I'll take a look at that as and when they come out. One of the other advantages of the game, or another plus point for it, is it's not a full price release. So if you buy the base game without the season pass, I think it's about £35 at the moment, and if you then throw in the season pass on top of that, I think the season pass version, so the deluxe version, was about £50, so cheaper than a full price release even with the season pass, which is a good shout in this day and age. I was quite pleased to see that. I know people's views on DLC packaged in varies, but I think overall it's a good price for a good product. There's a lot to do in it. There's a lot of vehicles, there's a lot of track, but most importantly there's an awful lot of fun to be had in this, and I do strongly recommend picking this up if you're even remotely interested in some good, aggressive and completely unclean racing. So yeah, there we go. I hope you found this useful. Thank you very much for watching, and if you want to see more like this, please do like and subscribe down below. Thanks very much. Bye.